Hey everyone, this is WobblyWallaby in Ragnarok Mobile Eternal Love, which is the best DPS in the game. Today I'm on my free-to-play account with 20% deposit, 1661 attack, no MVP cards, and pretty trash gear to be honest. I'm using this account to show you what I believe is the best DPS in the game. Sunlight performs exceptionally well for its investment, and in this video I'll show you just how far she can go with 7 out of 7 core hero power. I take down this dragon with ease, so whether you're free to play or pay to win, this class is really insane. Before I continue, I want to thank LDCloud for sponsoring this video. I've used LDCloud for many months and it's made my life much simpler. I use the unlimited multi-instances to help manage multiple Ragnarok Mobile accounts. For example, here I have 2 alts to help me with my instances and boss hunting. I click on this button and I can select my second instance and then manage my second class. It's super smooth and responsive. These instances run stable and uninterrupted 24/7, so I could park my character in void maps or Abyss Lake and be AFK while on auto. I'm happy I can do this stuff without consuming my phone or computer's RAM or battery. I've used instances in Singapore to access Southeast Asia games and United States for global games, which is great to get past region lock games. To get started, register through my exclusive link to enjoy a 6-hour free trial with no download required. Here I visit the link with my web browser, then click register now. I register with my Google account, and then I see the 0.27 US credit, which lets me try it out for 6 hours for free. And yes, you can also use this on your web browser too. So definitely give it a try. I'm sure you'll enjoy it as much as I do. Now, after the Advanced Ruin update, which allows us to guarantee the second line for ruins to level up a hero class of 7 out of 7, I saved up for weeks to make this guide. Previously when I made a video, I was 4 out of 7. Since it's guaranteed now, free-to-play players can now save up for this class, which is fantastic. I bet all my limited ruins on my free-to-play account on Sunlight because I stand by her being S tier for DPS. Now, Sunlight is timing heavy, so I'll break down how to play her in various instances. See the timestamp for some various approaches. You begin by charging your solo power to 200. This is possible at 7 out of 7 core hero power. It does take a while, but be patient. You also need to make sure your teammates wait as well. Sometimes they're a bit impatient, unfortunately. So go to 200 solar power before engaging with the boss. Next I do Sunlight Grace, then Sunlight Ritual for a huge skill damage boost against monsters, then Solar Flame Shower for a large AoE that does high damage per second. You have to dodge the AoE on the ground since Sunlight is kinda squishy. When the Rook comes out, I hold off on Scorching Realm until the end. I need the burst for the second time the Rook comes out. I take down the boss fast enough that the Rook comes out again. I use Sunlight Blessing to prolong Scorching Realm for the burst. Now the boss is left at 2%. Scorching Realm ends, but the biggest problem, which is the Rook, is already neutralized, so you have plenty of time to deal with the boss. Down goes the boss. It's great that your burst is able to deal with 2 instances of the Rook. Next, if you think you're strong enough to burst down the boss in Scorching Realm, which is 12 seconds, then you can activate Scorching Realm quickly near the start. For example, here against the Golem, I activate Scorching Realm pretty fast. I am converting to water this time. You can see the Golem goes down right away, which is great. And that's the same with Isle's Floor too. I use Ghost this time, and I pop Scorching Realm right away. If you see the Scorching Realm timer is running out, then do Sunlight Blessing to extend it for 5 seconds. Even when using Sunlight Blessing, you're doing a lot of damage. Next, let's do Floor 3 of Isles. I do Solar Flame Shower. that has good burst to take him down in phase 1. Now the AoE is insane, it deals with the mobs in phase 2 quite efficiently. I also take down Strophe, then take down the red orb. For the heart, I use Scorching Realm to burst it down. Then I finish off the boss. This is quite fast for this account that has suboptimal gear. Again, it's a very efficient class. But before I move on to other instances, I wanted to show my stats, advanced runes, and my gear so people can see exactly what I'm using. I have a bunch of stuff at Refined 10, so definitely not optimal. Same with Shadow Equipment, very basic. Oracle Mirror is not that great either, and a relic that you can unlock from doing the Cloud story. I will be covering the gear in detail soon. Next for attributes, I max Strength, since that gives more attack, then Dex since the passive Mind Vision gives you more attack and hit, then remaining into Vit for survivability. I have 27,000 attack, 80.5% penetration, 49.5% skill damage increase, 127% damage, 98.7% physical damage increase, 199.7% ignore defense. Now I do lack morale and chance, so this was a struggle to hit near 200%. The memory equipment adding 2% ignore defense each is very helpful. Next I have 3% physical piercing strike, that would be higher if I invested in Guild Blessing, and I got my Shadow Equipment accessories to 60% progress. Next I have 77% fire damage and 52% water damage. These are elements that I use quite often. Now these stats aren't great, but this is proof that Sunlight is very efficient. I feel like many other classes would not be able to do as well with the stuff I have. Again, I show my Adventure Handbook, which is at 20% deposit and 1661 attack. This is definitely very newbie friendly, as a lot of free-to-play players right now have 70% deposit or higher. Next, here's my advanced runes. I don't have runes to upgrade to higher stats, so they're not very ideal either. If you have the runes to upgrade, then Bestowed Radiance Rune is great for more elemental damage, and Undying Sun Rune for more Path of the Sun damage per movement speed. Now some people have asked where the lifesteal comes from. It is from the Glaring Enlightenment, where you leech health from doing Solar Flame Shower. Next, here are my attribute runes. The most important is to maximize damage to all races at 18%, which is from the yellow runes. For Arcane Runes, I use War Preparedness Rune for the HP shield, White Blade Rune, which is the one I'm most heavily invested in for more damage when there's only one enemy within 5 meters, and Spirit Rune for the SP recovery. Next, I'll go over my gear in more detail. This was from my Palace of Ghosts run, which I'll show later on. For offhand, I use Dragonbone Shield with 18% physical damage increase. For a card, I use Alice Star card for more damage to MVP and mini monsters. For memory equipment, I use the 2% ignore defense. For armor, I use Voodoo Armor for the ignore defense. I was lacking ignore defense, which was why I was forced to use this. Normally, I use Other Shore Patrol for the extra wind, earth, water, and fire damage, since that's the best. Next for card, I use Moonlight Star card since I lack ignore defense. Again, memory equipment is ignore defense plus 2%. Next for garment, Leader's Pauldron for the ignore defense and skill damage. For a card, I use Vagabond Wolf Star card for more attack percentage that scales off strength. Again, memory equipment is ignore defense plus 2%. Next for boots, I use the Dragon Slayer War Boots for the penetration percentage and attack percentage. For a card, I use the Flute Player Star card for more movement speed. For memory equipment, again is 2% ignore defense. Next is the accessories, I use Pendant of Ugin for the attack percentage and physical damage percentage. For a card, I use the Moonlight Tendrillion Star card for skill damage percentage. I swap in cards that do damage to races like Undead, depending on the target. For memory equipment is 2% ignore defense, and that's the same for my second accessory, Pendant of Ugin and Moonlight Tendrillion Star card. Next for weapon, I use the Golden Sunlight Tome, which is the best in slot for sunlight damage. For a card, I use 2 Menorah Star cards for dealing with large sized monsters and MVP and mini monsters. The memory equipment is ignore defense. For headwear, I use Homestead of Snowy Owl, which is great for more elemental damage and damage to inferior element. For card, I use the Andre Stark card for penetration percentage and ignore defense. For face, I use Winter Crown for the skill damage. For mouth, I use Mouthful of Bliss for the skill damage percentage and extra damage to targets with less than 15% health. For back, I use Chicken Axe for the damage taken debuff. For memory equipment, I have damage for all attributes plus 1%. For tail, I used It's Too Late for the skill damage percentage. For memory equipment, I have 2% ignore defense. Next for shadow equipment, Skeleton Brazier at 50% progress and tier 5 gives you a nice anti-death. If you can just focus on one shadow equipment, this would be the one. For armor, I've chosen Armor for the attack percentage. Next I have White Duke's Manteau for the ignore defense and skill damage. Next I have St. Mary's Cloth Shoes for attack percentage. Next I have Ring of Contract for the physical attack percentage. Next I have Ring of Loyalty, which gives 5% attack in combination with Chosen's Armor. And for Oracle Mirror, I use Combustible Knife for the penetration percentage. For defensive, I use the Meteor Armor for the stun and freeze resist. And for relic, I use Waist Size for the attack percentage. If you want a more optimal build of Sunlight, please check out my video guide in the description where I show my gear on my main. Next for skills, here are my auto and manual skills. On manual, Sunlight's Grace to convert for elemental advantage. Next, Sunlight's Blessing, pre-charging before fighting a boss to hit 200 solar power, and to use to extend Scorching Realm or whenever you're about to take a lot of damage. Next, Sunlight Ritual for big damage boost and skill damage, and also dealing more damage to demon or dark targets. Next, Solar Flame Shower, which is a powerful DPS but it drains your solar power, so be careful activating this if you still want to use your full solar power and your auto attack. Next I have First Aid for dealing with Archangel's debuff. Next I have Scorching Realm for a big burst in damage. Try to time it out to take down the tough targets. Since you lose all your solar power after and you can't attack temporarily, don't activate this too early since your DPS will drop dramatically. Next on auto I have Sunlight Crash and Path of the Sun. Next for Sunlight's protection, I usually have this as close, but if you're being hit by a lot, then you can choose physical. This is how I deal with the Dragon and Cain who hit very hard. Losing some solar power and not dying sometimes comes in handy. Next is Cain. Now obviously as a free-to-play player, there's only so far you can go. If you could solo this with this deposit and gear, that would be crazy, but I'll still try my best. If it's a tough boss, you don't have to use Solar Flame Shower right away since it uses solar power that causes your normal auto attacks to be kinda bad. So here I attack without it for a while. If your Sunlight is stronger, you'll definitely see how powerful the auto attacks are with full solar power. After some time I activate Solar Flame Shower. It starts to consume my solar power now. Then I do Scorching Realm. And then I do Blessing to prolong it. Cain goes down to 89%. For this account, this was as far as I could go. I'll end this off with PSR, which again is a very tough instance. Again, I attack with full solar power and don't activate Solar Flame Shower for a while. So with this setup it does well in Isles and Museum, but you can see the free-to-play account's limit against PSR and Palace of Ghosts. Even on my main account it can be a struggle. But overall, Sunlight is insane, and I hope from showing you my suboptimal free-to-play account, you can see the potential of this class. Now whenever I try out new classes, I often look back at this free-to-play account and really see if the new class can compete with this account. The accounts I often test with have over 150% deposit, or has MVP cards, yet some classes still don't perform well. It's the same even for classic classes. For example, I had tried Stellar Hunter on my main, fully loaded, with MVP cards and pay-to-win stuff, but it still performed worse than this free-to-play Sunlight account. so I really want to emphasize how efficient Sunlight is, even when comparing to an account that has a much better investment in both Zenny and BCC. Well, that's it for now. I'll keep working on this free-to-play account to see just how far I can push it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Here's a video that I'd recommend, and if you want more Sunlight videos, check out this playlist over here.